Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you might be. The power of Excel is unleashed by the use of functions. A function is simply a pre-written formula, like the sum function, or VLOOKUP, or if. Many people say to me, how do I learn the functions? How do I know what they do? Well, the idea of this particular upload is to explain how some of these slightly more advanced functions work and how you can use them in your Excel spreadsheets. In the previous upload, I outlined some basic functions, the link to which is here or in the description below. But this time we're going to look at these slightly more advanced situations, sum ifs, count ifs, etc., the ones along here. Now the first one we'll look at is how to extract particular numbers to be added in Excel subject to certain criteria. In this case, I just want the number of white cats. Now I know that I could total up all of the animals by using the sum function and put the answer into a cell, but I just want the number of white cats, and I want the answer to be in cell F13. What I'm going to do is to point out the use of the insert function button here. I highly recommend the use of this button because it saves you having to remember how to type out in longhand, as it were, the formula itself. So when I click there, up pops the insert function dialog box, and I can find the function I need by either typing a description of it, sum ifs, or I can look in the category. The sum ifs is a math and trig one, so you have to look through those and learn where they are. Or if you've used it recently, you can select the function down here. I've used it recently, so I'll select it there and click OK. Now, up pops the function arguments dialog box, and it says, what is the sum range? Adds the cell specified by a given set of conditions or criteria. The sum range are the actual cells to sum. So I'm going to drag down through those cells. The criteria. The first criteria, because I want white cats, the first is the animals. So I'm going to drag down through there, and the criteria will be a cat. I can click on the word cat or type it in. I generally click because it saves spelling mistakes. The second criteria range is the colour. Which colour? White. And now when I click OK, there is my answer, 8. 4 there and 4 there. Didn't count the brown cow, didn't count the white dog, didn't count the black cat, it just counted the white cats because they were the criteria that I gave to Excel. Now let's look at the next function, count ifs. Incidentally, before we do, just imagine where that could be used in an office. If you had 100 employees and you're working in the HR department and you want to count the number of female clerks who work in the administration department, you could easily do it with sum ifs. Now, count ifs works in a very similar way in that it counts the cells with a particular set of criteria. This time I want to count the number of cells that have white cats in them. I can see there's a white cat there, there's another white cat there, so hopefully my answer will be 2. And when I use the insert function button and go to count ifs and click OK, it says, what's the criteria range 1? Well, that's the animals, isn't it? What's the criteria? It's a cat. What's the second criteria range? It's the colour. What's the criteria? We'll say white. When I click OK, there is my answer, 2. So nice and easy. Now let's look at average ifs. Let's look at the average number of white cats. I know that there are 4 here and there are 4 there, so the average of course would be 4. So I went through the same procedure. I clicked in that cell and I used the insert function dialog box, and I simply used the similar method that I did in SumIf. So what I'm going to do, just to show you how it works, I'll delete that formula there, and we'll start afresh for average ifs, and we'll insert function average ifs. There it is there, but in this case we'll go to the average ifs in a different way. Averages are what we call statistical functions, and there it is there, average ifs. Click on it, OK, and it says what's the average range? Are the actual cells to be used to find the average? So obviously that cell, those are the cells there. What's the criteria? The cats, the animals. The criteria are the cats. The second criteria range are the colours, and it will be white, and we should see our answer 4, because that is the average number of white cats. Works very, very similarly to SumIfs. So remember to practice that, and you can apply it to real life examples. Let's look at trim, one of the text functions. Now when we bring information in from external databases, external files, maybe Word files, etc., very often we bring in these spaces before the words. There's a space before the word blue, a space before red, 2 spaces before the word yellow, and I want to remove those leading spaces for appearance sake, so that I finish up with this. So what I'm going to do is to remove that information, and here I'm going to use the trim command, and I will say equal trim, open a bracket, trim C4, and there it has done it. Now I can copy that down, and there I see that the trim command has removed the leading spaces so that my information is nice and even. Now there's a little bit of a trick here that we'll also see in a later function that we're going to use, because what I want to do is to replace that information there with this information here. Now I know if I right click on those selected cells and copy, and then right click over here and paste, nothing happens. The reason being is that I'm trying to copy and paste formulas in there. So I'll undo those actions, bring that down, there's my answer. But now what I'm going to do is to right click and copy, and then right click again on those cells and convert them to values. I don't want formulas in there anymore. I'm going to convert them to values, because now what I can do is to drag down through them, copy, drag down through those, paste, and there they are, all pasted correctly with no spaces. Now I can press the escape key, and I can delete that set of information should I wish, and there is my data in the cells in which they started but without spaces. Concatenate. Horrible word, but very handy function. The concatenate command allows me to join text from different cells. Because it's a function drawing data from cells, it can be edited by changing the cell contents. So let's see how it works. In this particular cell I have a set of data within the concatenate brackets, and the arguments are separated by commas, and the spaces are where I want a space. I use double quotes. A full stop I surround with double quotes. So anytime I want text which is not in a cell, I surround it with double quotes. So let's see how it works. Over here I'm going to type Billy, enter Thomas. Billy Thomas is the gentleman that we want to join together. I don't want him to be in 2 separate cells, I want it to be all together. So I want to join those cells, equal concatenate, and I'm going to say that cell, comma, double quote space, double quote comma to create the space, and that cell. Close the bracket, and there is Billy Thomas. Now it's very often used. I know that I was training a statistical government department recently who had lots of text that they wanted to bring together, didn't want to retype everything, so they used Concatenate, and it saved them a considerable amount of time. Good. Now, upper and lower. Here are two cats. Lowercase, uppercase. Upper converts lowercase to uppercase. So if I type in here equal upper, that cell, close the bracket, control enter, there is the cat in uppercase. This cell, I want the cat to be in lowercase, so what I'm going to do is say equals lower, that cell, close the bracket, and there we are. So it's useful when your caps lock is left on for reasonably large amounts of text. Nothing worse than accidentally knocking in the caps lock, and you don't have to retype everything now. You can do a little bit of judicious editing. Remember that in that cell is a formula, so if I want to replace that cell with that, I have to go through the same procedure as I did with trim. In other words, I right click and copy, right click and paste as a value. Now I can hit the escape key, and if I wish I can move that cell across to there, replace the contents, okay, beautiful, there we go. I didn't have to delete anything, I simply moved the contents across. A little bit of practice, isn't it, really? So nothing's hard, it's just a matter of knowing how to do it. Large. Large shows the order of importance of a number in an array. What's an array? An array is simply a set of data like that. A set of numbers, maybe text, who knows what. In this case it's numbers. And we'll assume that these numbers are the results of an examination that a teacher may have entered into a spreadsheet. Now, the large function says that you need to choose the array there and then followed by the rank of the number that you want. So I wanted to see the highest number, the number one number in that array. So it was number 78. Let's see how this works in practice. I'll delete those, and I'm going to say equals large. I'll drag down through the array, and this time I want the second highest number, we'll say, and that number is 56. There it is there, there it is there. There's only one number higher, and that's 78. Let's say I wanted the fourth highest number. That's 45. So there should be three numbers at least higher than that. 1, 2, 3, and there it is, the fourth highest number. Small works in exactly the same way, but it shows the lesser order of importance of a number in an array. It's useful when you want to know, for example, whether the results of scores need to be analysed. So let's try the small. Equals small. There's my array, and this time I want the lowest number, number 1. There it is there, 12. So that's how you can pluck numbers subject to their rank, as it were, in an array of numbers. The now function is quite simply used. It is typed like that, equal now, open and close a bracket, and it gives you the time that you entered the information from the computer's clock. It looks at the date and the time, and you can refresh that during the current session by pressing F9 on the keyboard. Nice and easy. The power function simply raises a number to the power. For example, in this cell I've typed a function equal power and two arguments, the number and the power to which I want that number to be raised. So if I type in there equals power and I want to raise the number 2 to the power of 4, the answer of course is 16. So there's another example here. I could have typed 4, 3, it would have raised 4 to the third power, which would have been 64. 4 times 4 times 4. Lastly, the product function. The product function multiplies a group of numbers together, and it works like this. If I type in this cell equal product, and drag down through that group of cells to select them, close my bracket, there is the answer, 14,400. So there are 10 very useful functions. They're a little more advanced than the first 10 to which I showed you the description, but have a look at them if you haven't already done so, and we'll be uploading a further 10 functions in the very near future. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe unless you've already done so, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.